Hey, I'm back again. So I'm going to continue with my readings of these excerpts from the book, The UCC Connection. The last photo that I put forth in my last video yesterday, the last paragraph, I did not read it, so I'm going to read the paragraph before that and then that one and then continue. So, the last one that I read was, whenever you sign any legal paper that deals with Federal Reserve notes in any way, under your signature, write, without prejudice or without prejudice UCC 1-308. This reserves your rights. You can see at UCC 1-308.4 that you have sufficiently reserved your rights, if you want to check that out. It is very important to understand just what this means. For example, one man who used this in regard to a traffic ticket was asked by the judge what he meant by writing without prejudice on his statement to the court. This guy had not tried to understand the concepts involved. He only wanted to use it to get out of paying for the ticket. He did not know what it meant. When the judge asked him what he meant by signing in that way, he told the judge that he was not prejudiced against anyone. Which is a buffoon statement, right? He obviously did not comprehend it. The judge knew the man had no idea of what it meant, so he lost the case. You must know what it means. Any concept, any constitutional concept, you have to know what it means. You can't just cite an article or a clause in the Constitution. You have to comprehend it. It just makes sense, right? I've gone through this in many videos, especially recently. If you don't know a right, you don't have it. How can you defend the validity of something for which you have no knowledge of it? I mean, it's pretty preposterous, right? So, here we go, section 22. Without prejudice, UCC 1-308. When you use without prejudice or without prejudice UCC 1-308 in connection with your signature, you are saying, quote, I reserve my right not to be compelled to perform under any contract or commercial agreement that I did not enter knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally. I do not accept the liability of any compelled benefit or any unrevealed contract or commercial agreement. So, what is the compelled performance of an unrevealed commercial agreement? Good question. Here you go. When you use Federal Reserve notes instead of silver dollars, is it voluntary? No, because there's no lawful money. So you have to use Federal Reserve notes. You have no other choice. It's illegal to pay for things in gold or silver. Since 1933, Emergency Banking Act, House Joint Resolution 192, right? So you have to accept the benefit. The government has given you the benefit to discharge your debts. How nice are they? But if you have not reserved your rights under 1-308, you are compelled to accept the benefit and are therefore obligated to obey every statute, ordinance, and regulation of the government at all levels of government, federal, local, and state. If you understand this, you will be able to explain to the judge when he asks, and he will ask. So be prepared to explain this statement to the court. You will also need to understand UCC 1-103, argument and recourse. If you want to fully understand this, go to a law library and photocopy these two sections from the UCC. This is an old book. You can get it online now, right? It is important to get the Anderson version. Some of the law libraries will only have the West Publishing version, which is very difficult to understand. In Anderson, it is broken down with decimals into 10 parts, and most importantly, it is written in plain English, so to speak. Section 23, recourse. Recourse appears in UCC at 1-103.6, which says, quote, the code is complementary to the common law, which remains in force, except where displaced by the code. A statute should be construed in harmony with the common law unless there is a clear legislative intent to abrogate the common law. Okay, that's UCC 1-103.6. Still unconstitutional, but again, it's a remedy that you can use. You know, it might be easier to do that than using the Constitution or using grammar for you. It's subjective to every person. So this is the argument to use in court. The code recognizes the common law. If it did not recognize the common law, the government would have to admit that the United States is bankrupt and completely owned by its creditors. Right? The unrevealed commercial agreement that you have been entered into is via your birth certificate, and the agreement is the national debt owed to a foreign power. Presumably, due to the Emergency Banking Act, your master, your sovereign master, an international banker, a few of them. So, it goes on to say, but it is not expedient to admit this. It's not expedient for them to admit that they own the world right now. The code was not written to entirely override the common law. Therefore, you have made a sufficient, timely, and explicit reservation of your rights pursuant to UCC 1-308. You can then insist that the statutes be construed in harmony with the common law. We talked about the common law. It's basic. Have you infringed on the rights, liberty, or happiness of another living person? Doesn't matter what you do to a non-living entity such as a government or, you know, an authority. I'm not talking about the man or woman that's inside the uniform. You can't hurt their corporeal body. Then again, you're going against common law, right? It's pretty simple. So here it says, if the charge is a traffic ticket, you may demand that the court produce the injured person who has filed a verifiable complaint. For example, if you were charged with failure to buckle your seatbelt, you may ask the court who was injured as a result of your failure to, quote-unquote, buckle up. However, if the judge won't listen to you and just moves ahead with the case, you will want to read to him the last sentence of UCC 1-103.6, which states, the code cannot be read to preclude a common law action. Right? It's still constitutional. It has to be constitutional. And it says here, tell the judge, quote, Your Honor, I can sue you under the common law, for violating my rights under the UCC. I have a remedy under the UCC to reserve my rights under the common law. I have exercised my remedy, so you must construe this statute in harmony with the common law. To be in harmony with the common law, you must bring forth the damaged party. And it says here about reserving your rights, UCC 1-308, it says, note, actually, it is better to use a rubber stamp, because this demonstrates, or UCC 1-103.6. And, you know, it says here, the simple fact that it takes several days or a week to order and get a stamp shows that you had reserved your rights prior to signing the document. It goes on to say, if the judge insists on proceeding with the case, act confused and ask this question. Quote, let me see if I understand, Your Honor. Has this court made a legal determination that the section of 1-308 and 1-103 of the UCC, which is the system of law you are operating under, are not valid before this court? So now the court, or the judge, is in a jam. How can he throw out one part of the code and uphold another? If he answers yes, then you say, I put this court on notice that I am appealing your legal determination. Now, of course, the higher court will uphold the code on appeal. The judge knows this, so you have boxed him into a corner. So that's just a couple of more pages of the UCC connection. Just to give you an idea that these guys aren't gods, lawyers and judges and police and, you know, CEOs and all these people. They have a little bit more knowledge, and a lot of those don't have this knowledge either. They're still working within the system and doing well at it, but you're still slaves. Still slaves if you haven't rescinded your contracts of marriage licenses and driver's licenses and a lot of other things, your social security number, your birth certificate. You know, you're entered into those contracts, and if you don't say, no, I'm not, or hey, that was done erroneously, he who does not assert his rights has none, right? All right, guys, I'm out of here. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back with some more. I might do something on the Gospel of Thomas. Uh, some awesome stuff in there, man. Just awesome. I may put a couple of Jesus's quotes from the Gospel of Thomas somewhere in this video, just because I can only make each picture 60 seconds with my cheap ass app that I have. Hey, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Peace.